Welcome to the Middle Ground. I'm your host, Ohio Divided. Here we dive into all things sports. Ohio State, Michigan, the Bengals, the Browns, the Reds, college football, the NFL, college hoops, Major League Baseball. And hey, we might even dip into a little NBA when things get spicy. If it's happening in the sports world, we're talking about it right here on the Middle Ground. Before we get rolling, make sure you please like, subscribe, follow, retweet, do all the things that help this show grow. We appreciate each and every one of you. Now, let's get to the show. It is Monday, December 15th, and there's not a whole lot to be excited about if you're a professional football sports fan in the state of Ohio. Whether that's the Browns or whether that's the Bengals, not a lot to be excited about. Woke up this morning, we're 10 days away from Christmas. It was cold as shit, about 2 degrees whenever I woke up this morning, just to add on to me already feeling like complete shit and just how the Bengals game went yesterday, but it really ultimately doesn't end there. A lot more to unpack as you get into everything that just is going on amongst Joe Burrow, the Cincinnati Bengals, ownership, GM, head coach, and yeah, we've got a lot to unpack. Looking forward to the rest of this week. I think later in the week, Norm and I are going to try to get a show together, talk through the 4 college football playoff games that are coming up this weekend, and then the never-ending Michigan drama that seems to just something every few hours, I don't know at this point, just seems to be coming out time after time, and just more continues to come out. Now they're saying that this chick was being held, was threatened by a All-American at Michigan and a current NFL star. Not sure what exactly is going to come out of that, but the way it sounds, it might just be the beginning for Michigan and what the hell has all been going on there. So I am sure Metal and I will have a show at some point, whether it's this week, next week, if it's on this Sharon Moore situation, if it's on the new head coach, whatever that may be. But be on the lookout for that. We got a lot of things happening right now. So to kind of kick this off, yesterday was tough. Yesterday was very tough. I wasn't shocked by the outcome of the game. That wasn't the part that really pissed me off. If you told me that they were going to go out and lay an egg and lose 24-0, I probably would have said, yeah, you're probably right. I wasn't expecting a whole lot going into it. But when for one, yeah, your season is eliminated, but that was kind of the writing on the wall for a pretty long time now. I think the second that you saw Burrow go down in week 2 against the Vikings, and not maybe so much right whenever he went down, but after the fact that it came out that he was probably going to be out for about 3 months, he actually came back in 2, if you haven't been paying any attention. That was when I was like, yeah, this season's cooked. If you don't have Joe Burrow, you're done. So I've been saying basically since week 2 into week 3, especially week 3 when I forget who it was they went and played. They got absolutely dog-walked that third week, whoever it was. I can't remember who it was off the top of my head anymore. I think it was the Vikings. Yeah, because the Jaguars game was whenever he got hurt, and the Vikings, they went up there and just got absolutely murdered. Once I saw that cemented that this season was over. So for one, yes, yesterday was sad, disappointing, led you a little pissed off. Because the Bengals aren't making the playoffs for a 3rd season in a row when you have a franchise quarterback. But if you've been paying any attention to this defense, if you've been paying any attention to who the head coach of this team is, if you've been paying any attention just the vibes of this team and this organization, yesterday shouldn't surprise you, and you should have known this season was over a long fucking time ago. Now, the part that really pissed me off, it came out after the game with reports that there were fans heckling Joe Burrow the entire second half, to the fact that Jamar Chase had to speak up and tell them to shut the fuck up and go home. Now, Joe Burrow will be the first one to tell you when he plays like shit. And did he play like shit yesterday? Absolutely. Yesterday was one of the worst games I've ever seen Nine play. It was one of the worst games I've ever seen Joe Burrow play. He's not perfect. Every great player has a stinker every time and again. But to have the audacity to sit there and talk shit to the one of the very few bright spots amongst your entire organization and why you've even been somewhat relevant in the past 5 years is absolutely insane. That pissed me the fuck off. None of you spoiled fucks would have ever seen a Super Bowl, any kind of success, not even a playoff win in the last 30 years, if it wasn't for Joe Burrow. So, if you were the fans that were sitting there heckling him and saying the shit, I get fans are going to talk shit and say things. But if it was bad enough that Jamar Chase had to step up and say something, you are the problem. You are part of the problem. Aside from that, there was another point in the game where Joe Burrow was scrambling out and Jamon Jones went out and hit him a little late through him. Burrow got not a crazy hard hit, but probably late. A lot of other NFL quarterbacks like Mahomes, Herbert, Lamar, Allen, a lot of the top guys in the league probably would have gotten a flag. Burrow didn't get one. And to see Ted Karras be the only offensive lineman who went over and stuck up for Joe Burrow, tried to go over and fight somebody, tells me all I need to know about what this culture is like and what the fuck the guy at the top, Zach Taylor, is leading. It's a I don't care attitude. It's a we're already done playing. There's nothing to play for. Nobody cares attitude anymore. If that's Patrick Mahomes, if that's Lamar Jackson, if that's Josh Allen, all 5 of those offensive linemen are running over and there is a fucking fight. That alone shows you how awful this fucking culture is right now that is led at the heels of Zach Taylor. I felt really bad yesterday. I tried to give myself a day to kind of let my emotions calm down. I felt really bad yesterday. After the game, for probably 10 minutes after the game, I'm just sitting in the living room with my wife. We just got done watching the game together. And I'm sitting here basically lecturing to her like I am you guys right now about how pissed off I am. I said probably 5 times, I don't know if I'm going to be a fan anymore. I'm going to continue to be a fan. First off, because if I'm not going to be a fan, I probably won't care about the NFL and not stay up with things. And I love football. I love rooting for something. So I'm going to continue to root for this organization. But I'm going to call them out on their bullshit when they deserve to be called out, which is basically 99% of the time. But I'm sitting here like lecturing this type of shit to my wife, and she's kind of just looking at me like, okay, like I understand half of what you're saying, and like she's sitting there laughing at me for saying I'm probably not going to be a fan anymore. And sure enough, she was right. Like, there's no way I'm not going to be able to be a fan or not going to not be able to be a fan. But, yeah, I tried to give myself a day, so I'm sorry. My emotions are all coming back right now. And, like, yesterday was just a horrible day for the Cincinnati Bengals. Like, just a horrible day. First, you got the fans heckling Burrow. The offensive line doesn't do shit whenever he gets hit late. And then, like, you throw in the fact that they're getting clowned before the game. They didn't make sure any of the seats were wiped off of snow. And I saw these dumbass excuses out there like, oh, well, the snow happened late. I do not fucking care when the fucking snow came. If it came at noon, the seats need to be cleaned off. Every other NFL organization makes sure their damn seats are cleaned off. It's a joke. And then aside from that, it was like start of the game. And there's still thousands of fans sitting outside the gate trying to get the hell in the game. Like, what are you doing here? What kind of organization is this? And then after the game, Zach Moss is calling him out. I saw Torrey Smith tweeting shit about the Bengals and how much of a joke. They are an absolute joke of an organization. They will forever be clowned because they do shit like they did, not cleaning out the seats, not getting fans in the game in time, having lines all the way out to the road outside the stadium as the game is kicking off. They don't do themselves any damn favors. And I think at this point in time, last night, I'm reading Twitter. I'm listening and watching and seeing all these things. And then the post-game press conferences come out. And that's when it really hit me. Joe Burrow goes into that press conference and took 100% of the blame. He took 100% of the blame. As far to say is, there isn't a single NFL team that would have won today with me at quarterback. I played terrible. I have to be better. Like I've said, and most of you probably know, Joe Burrow is part of the solution, not part of the problem. And the problem list with the Cincinnati Bengals is probably too long to even count. And for him, he could go in and point the finger at this, point the finger at that. He could have went a million different directions. Not only that day, but why the fuck they got eliminated yesterday. But he did what a true leader does. Took it on the chin, took the blame, and said, I have to be better. The Cincinnati Bengals, this ownership, this front office does not deserve Joe Burrow. So, when you talk about how we get to this point, you got to look at the timeline, how we got here. So, Burrow, back in 2020, knee injury, out for the year. 2021, leads them to the Super Bowl. 2022, gets back to the AFC Championship, loses on a last-second field goal. They were cooking. They were right there. They were the team that could potentially take down the Kansas City Chiefs. They just did it the year before and got to the Super Bowl. They were right there, neck and neck, almost did it again. If you told me after that AFC Championship game when they lost on the last-second field goal, the one where Joseph Osai hit Mahomes late and they called the flag, put him in the field goal range, and they won. If you told me the Bengals were going to go the next 3 years without making the playoffs, I would have told you are fucking nuts. I would have laughed in your face. I would have clowned you. I would have called you everything but smart. But maybe I'm the dumb one. Maybe I'm the problem. I probably am the problem. I support this fucking organization. So after 2022, if you remember right, after that game, Joseph Osai's walking off the field. You got fucking Jermaine Pratt bitching at him as they're walking back to the locker room. That was the start of things going downhill. The second Joseph Osai hits him late, they hit the field goal. Jermaine Pratt, the toxicity that kind of showed, screaming shit at him as they go into the locker room after the game. That was when it really started. 2023. That was the year Burrow hurt his wrist on Thursday Night Football against the Baltimore Ravens. Still a really good football team that year. I think they were like 6-3 whenever he got hurt at that point in time. The week before, I was there on Sunday Night Football, and they kicked the shit out of the Buffalo Bills. Like 2 weeks before that, at San Francisco, Burrow goes out and plays probably the best game I've ever seen Joe Burrow play, and they beat the 49ers when they were at the top. 2023 was still on the same route that what they had in 2022 and 2021. They were still cooking. Burrow hurt his wrist, and that season was over. 2024, Joe Burrow comes out and has the best season of his career. And the defense was very, 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 very bad last year. What we all already know. This was where I think it turned for Burrow. This is where shit started to get bad. And they lost a ton of heartbreakers last year, like 6 of them if I remember right. Whether it's missed field goals at the end, just the pass interference call late against the Chiefs comes to mind. Like they lost probably 6 games that you flip a coin, they go the other way. Like that team probably wins 12, 13 games. But they're on the wrong end of really bad luck last year. But I think last year was when you started to see the frustration in Burrow's face. You started to see the frustration in his face on the sidelines. You started to see the frustration in his face on post-game press conferences. And really, when you knew, they'll tell you in post-game press conferences after the fact, Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow, that everything's fine. They support each other 100%. But what really showed is in the action when things are going live at Carolina last year when Burrow and Zach kind of had their altercation on the sideline. That's when it screamed to me, everything's not okay here. You kind of started to see that frustration out of Joe. You kind of started to see some cracks in the foundation at that point. And then you go on to see Carson Palmer making basically the same comments that I just made, that he's seeing frustration in his face. And I honestly don't know why Bengals fans get so pissed about Carson Palmer. Like, he shits on the organization. Don't get me wrong. He very rarely has many great things to say about them at all. But is he wrong? Like, is he wrong when he talks about the Bengals? Like, at some point, you have to sit back and not just be a biased fan and really think about, what are the issues here? You can't sit here like some accounts on Twitter and just blast whatever it is that the front office wants out there into the public just to kind of put the organization in the front office in a good light. Carson Palmer has done nothing but spit facts about this organization since he's left. Has he kind of gone out of his way at times to shit on him? Yeah. But I don't know if I really blame him. Like, they take you number one overall. Like, you are talented enough to hoist a Lombardi trophy, and when you don't have the support from the front office, you don't have the resources from the front office to get there, and as you look around the league, a lot of other places have, and a lot of other top quarterbacks in the game have, that's frustrating as fuck. You can only do so much. When you talk about the lack of scouts, the lack of coaches, the lack of ability to evaluate talent, just the stupid shit that this ownership group does, you can't help but shit on them for it. And as you go on from last year, at the end of the season, Joe Burrow leads the NFL in yards. He leads the NFL in touchdowns. Jamar Chase wins a Triple Crown. Trey Hendrickson leads the entire league in sacks. And you're still sitting at home. You're still sitting at home. That was where I think really broke him. I think he went out. I don't know if it was Trey. I don't know if it was Jamar. I don't know if it was Joe. You know they all talk. But one of them at the end of the year came out and basically said, if you would have told me that Joe, Jamar, and Trey all did these things and we didn't make the playoffs, I would have told you you're an idiot. So you know that they're thinking that. That you know that they are thinking that. I think that was what really pissed him off and set him over the edge. And then you go and fast forward into this year. Second game of the year. He's like 5 quarters into the season, fucks up his toe. And I think that he went into this season like, I just had the best season of my career, had an MVP caliber season. If we don't just suck and basically if we just make the playoffs, I'm probably the MVP and we could get in and we could have made some noise. But you didn't. And then he goes and he fucks up his toe week 2, third season-ending injury. I guess the season wasn't season-ending. Basically was season-ending. And I think he's gone into a really bad mental space. He's gone into a really bad mental space. Coming off the season like he had really good ambitions. New season, we're going to fix some things. We were really close to winning 5 or 6 of those games that were nail-biters at the end last year. Some of those, if we can just get some things to bounce our way, like it did in week 1 when they did not deserve to beat the Cleveland Browns, maybe we can find ourselves getting the 10-11 wins and getting back in the postseason this year. He fucks up his toe and basically done for the season. And this is what really pisses me off about the fans that were out there saying shit to him, giving him enough talk that Jamar Chase had to say something to them. He was supposed to come back like this week, and he worked his ass off to come back an entire month before. He has constantly put his body on the line and worked his ass off to try and get back to play for his teammates, to play for this team, and to play for the fans. and to treat him and say the shit that whatever it was that they were saying that was enough for Jamar Chase to speak up is just sickening. It's sad. It is just sad. And I still see people that are like, well, he played like shit yesterday. He hasn't looked great. I thought Joe has looked, aside from yesterday, I thought Joe has looked fine. He came back an entire month early from what people were saying he was going to come back. He came back on Thursday Night Football. Yeah, he didn't look great at times, but he played well enough for them to win against the Ravens the first time around. Last week at Buffalo, he was playing extremely well. It looked like one of those vintage legendary Joe Burrow games where he's going to come in. All odds are against him. They have no place to win. It looked like it was one of those games where he was going to go into Buffalo and bring his team out with a win. Aside from one pass, he was exceptional. And then yesterday, he played like shit. He played as bad of a game as I probably have seen him play in stripes. But to sit here and to say the shit that was probably said to him yesterday is absolutely insane. As you have seen time and time, basically through Burrow's entire career, the first 3 to 4 weeks of the season, he looks pretty mid. He's a timing quarterback. He is a guy that has to play on schedule on time. And it takes a little bit of time for him to get there. It usually takes him 3 or 4 games. The first month of December, or the first month of September, typically isn't always Joe's best month. But after that, he is the best quarterback in the league if he's healthy. From October on, he is usually, if he is healthy, the best quarterback in the game. And there's a lot of narratives out there right now. Well, the Bengals, the reason why that they're not very good is because T and Jamar took all the money. That couldn't be more of the biggest bullshit state. You couldn't tell me you have zero understanding more about the Bengals. Like, you sound like a Browns fan or just like completely unaware of what's going on. The Bengals are set to have roughly $80 million in cap this coming offseason, and that's counting Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins after them. $80 million in cap. Joe, Jamar, and T all being under contract is not stopping this organization from going out and getting very much needed needs. And people always say, well, why did they pay T. Higgins? Why didn't they go and spend that money elsewhere? I just said they have $80 million in cap. Maybe don't swing and miss on free agents. That's a start. And aside from that, if you're not paying T. Higgins, that's exactly what's wrong with this organization. We saw the same thing with Jesse Bates. When you draft a guy, reward yourself by re-signing him. When you draft a guy and he's an all-pro, Pro Bowl level player, re-sign him. Don't let him walk like they let Jesse Bates do, which Jesse Bates was very possible to bring back. Letting T walk is exactly what is wrong with this organization. You had T, a guy who came in at the same time Joe Burrow did when shit was fucked. T. Higgins is a locker room guy. T. Higgins has been part of the solution that got the Bengals to where they were, going to the Super Bowl, winning the AFC North, and winning AFC championships and making appearances. You don't trade that away, or you don't let that walk, I should say. Letting T. Higgins walk is everything that is wrong with the Cincinnati Bengals. So that is the one thing I will give the front office credit for, getting that right. Would you like to have your number 2 making as much money as what T. Higgins is? Probably not. But who else are they going to spend it on? They could have still kept Jesse Bates. Jesse Bates could still be a Bengal right now, and they would still have an abundance of money. That brings us to the next point. You've just let... The reason you're in the spot you're in on the defensive side of the ball is because you can't fucking draft. You can't fucking identify talent. You're taking guys like Jackson Carman. You're taking guys like Shamar Stewart, Chris Jenkins, Barrett Carter, Demetrius Knight, Cam Taylor-Britt, Dax Hill. The list goes on and on and on and on of guys they've just missed on. Jordan Battle. And you look back to that Super Bowl team, You weren't keeping those guys forever. They're old. A couple of them are even retired at this point. But you backfilled them with shit. That is why you're in the position that you're in. It's not because you paid T. Higgins. You're in the position you're in because you have the smallest scouting department in the NFL. You have the least amount of coaches to develop these guys in the NFL, and you can't evaluate talent worth shit. Give me gridiron grading. Give me Joe Goodberry. Let them form in a roster and do the drafting in April, and the Bengals are in a 10 times better spot than what they're in today. You look back from that Super Bowl team. You let guys like Jesse Bates, we just talked about him, walk. Von Bell walked. You brought him back, but you brought him back like 2 to 3 years later when he was no longer good, and I don't even know if he's in the league anymore. He might not be. I don't know. DJ Reader, another guy you let walk. The Detroit Lions got him for pennies on the fucking dollar. A cement of your defense. A cement of what the identity of your defense on that side of the ball for the few years that you were really good. For the 3 years that you were really good. You let him walk for nothing. Logan Wilson. Logan Wilson has had his issues. I was indifferent about the decision to trade him. Whatever. I understood the situation at the time. You had 2 rookie linebackers. You wanted to see what they were, so you traded him. Well, turns out to find out those rookie linebackers fucking suck. So there's a couple more picks that you missed on. Logan Wilson, big part of the defense, gone. Did not replace. Jermaine Pratt, gone. Yes, he's a dumb fuck, but he made plays in big-time moments for the Bengals when they were really good. Should he have left? Should they have let him walk? Absolutely. But you didn't replace him. Gone. Chido Awuzie, shut down corner for 2 years. Tore his ACL in 2022 on Monday Night Football against the Cleveland Browns when the Bengals got dog-walked on national TV. You replaced him with Cam Taylor-Britt, who looked like he was showing flashes early on. Turned into an absolute train wreck. Cheeto, gone. Mike Hilton, a big locker room guy, a culture guy. Sure, he's getting up there in age. You probably had to move on from him at some point. But the point remains, you don't know how to draft. You don't have the ability to evaluate talent, and you get in these situations of where you're in. Mike Hilton, gone. You don't replace him. You replace him with dog shit. And that's just the amount that are off the top of my head right now. I don't even have fucking show notes. I'm just rambling on what's in my brain right now. Drafting has been the ultimate issue for the Bengals and why they are in the situation they are in. Not T. Higgins. It's not T. Higgins. T. Higgins is a guy you keep around, and that was the one thing I will give the front office credit for. I'm not giving them credit for keeping Joe and Jamar. If you did that, you may as well just blow up Paycor. You don't let Joe and Jamar walk. T is the one signing or one thing that they've done I will give them credit for. So I've done a lot of bitching up until this point. I think it's pretty warranted if you ask me. You've got a franchise quarterback, one of the probably the best thing that's ever happened to your franchise, and you're completely in a spot. You're fucking it up. You're fucking it up. He won't be a Bengal in 2 years on the trajectory you're currently on. So what do you do moving forward? You have to make changes. You have to make changes. Zach Taylor has to go. Duke Tobin has to go. The culture and the identity is not there with Zach Taylor. There's a reason his quarterback is getting hurt all the time. Is Joe Burrow injury prone? Yes. But the way he has his offensive scheme and his offensive structure does Joe Burrow no favors. Every year, Zach Taylor has been the head coach of the Bengals. They've had a bottom 5 offensive line and a bottom 5 rush offense. That allows the defensive line to if you can't run the ball and you can't protect the quarterback, defensive lines are teeing off every chance they get, which leads to more hits, more sacks, more injuries. Will they do it? Probably not. Duke Tobin, we've talked about the draft a little bit ago. Laundry list of missed picks. Completely fucked up every single draft, basically, since Burrow's been in town. It's just disgusting. And that's what I think that's what really hits me the most is I'm not confident they're going to do anything. 3 years in a row of having a Joe Burrow caliber quarterback, and you've missed the playoffs 3 seasons in a row. If this is an actual organization, and I'm talking like a Buffalo Bills or like a Kansas City Chiefs or like a Los Angeles Chargers, like teams that you consistently see in the postseason, you have Joe Burrow. If you miss the playoffs 1 season, it's loud. If you miss the playoffs 2 seasons in a row, you're probably getting shown the door. But in Cincinnati, they'll let you go all the way to 3 because they're cheap, stupid, and don't care. They just want tickets to be sold, fans to come to the game. They don't care about the results on the field. So I am not confident, even after 3 seasons, that this front office is going to do anything from a head coaching or a general manager. And if you could see me right now, when I say general manager, I'm doing the little air quotes with my fingers, general manager, because Duke Tobin isn't even that. I think it was Mike Denner and Jay Morrison today basically said the betting favorite would be that they run it back next year. They run it back. Hey, if you think that I've been fired up and I've been pissed off during this episode, wait until I see that report that they're running it back. I might punch a fucking hole through my computer. I don't need to sit here and keep bitching about this because I think you guys get the point. You see the people on screens. Anybody on this screen that doesn't have a number 9 on their jersey is a fucking clown. A fucking clown. Mike Brown, Katie Blackburn, Duke Tobin, Zach Taylor, all problems. You can only do something about 2 of the 4, Zach Taylor and Duke Tobin. The other 2, unfortunately, we're stuck with. If I'm Joe Burrow, so what's in it for Joe? I get it. I'd be equally as pissed off as he is. You're one of the top quarterbacks in the league. You should be living in the playoffs. You should be living in the divisional round. You should be living in the AFC Championship game. But they don't. I get it. I get the frustration. I'd be equally as frustrated as he is, and I completely understand why he feels the way that he does. This organization has not given him the resources around him to be successful and for the team to be successful. Yes, I know they've given him the wide receiver 1 and the wide receiver 2. But aside from that, the defense is terrible. He's getting killed all the time. He's taking hit after hit after hit after hit. He's got fans bitching at him in the stands. I get it. I get his frustration. I think everybody would agree. They'd be equally as frustrated as what he is right now. If I'm Joe Burrow, I'm giving the Cincinnati Bengals 1 more year. I'm giving the Cincinnati Bengals 1 more year. You go into this offseason, defense has been an issue. It's been the piece that's holding us back. You have $80 million to spend, and you have 1 offseason to get this shit fixed. If we go through next year with the same problems that we went through in 2024, 2025, and now into 2026 next season, get out. Like the thumbnail says, get out, Joe. This organization isn't going to give you what you need and what you deserve. And what you deserve is a Super Bowl. I thought early on in your career, I thought you were going to get multiple. But you're not doing it here. At least not as of today. They'll be lucky to get 1. I'm not even thinking about the Super Bowl right at this point. I'm thinking about just getting back to the fucking wild card ground. But if I'm Joe Burrow, I'm giving this front office 1 more season. 1 more season. If you can't get the defense fixed, if we can't become competitive again, respectable again, I'm out. I'm going somewhere where I'm going to get protected. I'm going to have a defense, and I'm going to have an actual head coach. And for the front office, Katie Blackburn, Mike Brown, Troy Blackburn, all the people calling the shots, complete brain deads. For the Cincinnati Bengal front office, you still have one chance, one more shot to salvage the Joe Burrow era in Cincinnati. If you screw this up, if you let Joe Burrow come and go with nothing other than a Super Bowl appearance to show for it, you will be clowned forever. You will be clowned 10 times more than what you've been clowned up until this point. If you let Joe Burrow come in and you have a little bit of success early on in his career, and the last 4 years of him being in Cincinnati is nothing but a flop, you're not coming back from that. You still have time to salvage this. You still have time to go out this offseason and make a fucking statement. Not only to Joe, but to the fans too. You have an opportunity to not completely screw up this upcoming draft and actually add pieces that are going to make this team better next year. Whether they do that or whether they don't, that remains to be seen. That remains to be up to them. But if they continue on this trajectory, they will be clowned forever. Oh, all right. I think I'm done ranting. Like I said, I tried to give myself a day to just kind of gather my thoughts. I didn't really have any notes or anything. I just had some bullet points thrown in my head that I wanted to talk on, and I just kind of wanted to vent. And I vented, and it's bad. It's really bad. We're in a dark spot. Joe Burrow's in a really dark spot. But they have one more chance to get this turned around. If they don't, it's cooked. It is cooked. So, thank you all for tuning in. I pray to God there are better days ahead for the Cincinnati Bengals. And thankfully, I've tweeted this numerous times, thankfully the Ohio State Buckeyes exist, and I have some kind of competency that I can root for, because the Cincinnati Reds are not it. The Cincinnati Bengals are not it. Ohio State basketball, a little fraudulent. They're all I got. They're all I got. If you could please like, subscribe, retweet, do all the things that help make this show grow. You can hear more crash outs from me like this. I appreciate each and every one.